Dear friends, dear colleagues, I'm delighted and excited to be here to share with you that I did not plan to become a professor of urban planning. I somehow grew into that. I will spend the next 15 minutes attempting to inspire an alternative vision for urban and regional planning and to explain how I'm doing that through my research and teaching. What is urban and regional planning? In the broadest terms, is the technical and political process by which human communities seek to manage changes in their physical environment by shaping land use, infrastructure, and socioeconomic development. But what does planning mean? This is a word that we seldom question. It comes from Latin planum, meaning plane, a flat surface. Planning, at its origin, at its root, is about flattening. Flattening complexity, flattening diversity, flattening space into something legible, encodable, controllable, manageable. And this is exactly what uncritical modern urban and regional planning practices have done, privileging exchange values over use values, prioritizing optimization and efficiency over spatial and experiential qualities, organizing the land as a smooth surface, a tabula rasa. But the world is not flat. It has never been. What if, instead of flattening the territory, we began by observing its wrinkles, not as critical imperfections, but as signals of an embodied value? Across disciplines, from material science to biology, wrinkles emerge when complex systems and layered ones are shaped by uneven forces. They are not random. They are structural responses to underlying dynamics. They stratify diversity. They claim value. They spatialize time. Now imagine this apply to the territory. What if cities and regions are not blank surfaces to be planned, virgin lands to be exploited, but layered systems that stratify diversity, claim value, and spatialize time into wrinkles? This perspective brings together civicism and bioregionalism. First, civicism, which manifests as the agency of citizens in controlling the production of space, turning the city into a collective work of art rather than a mere product. Such a manifestation starts by understanding that space is not just a container. Space is perceived through daily routine and spatial practices, conceived by professionals and institutions, and lived, signified, and imagined by inhabitants. Because of this, space is never uniform. It's uneven, layered, and contested. Second, bioregionalism. Human and more than human communities are embedded within natural defined areas called bioregions, defined by climatic zones, watersheds, mountain ranges, soil type, and native flora and fauna. Bioregions are secreted by spatial articulation of biological settlements and their interactions, but fragmented by anthropocentric governance. Bioregions are seasonal inhabitants by human and more than human communities, embodying spiritual meaning and memories of indigenous cultures. Within these bioregions, what we perceive as regularities are not anomalies. They are concentration of biodiversity, ecological value, and indigenous history. And where there is history, there are wrinkles. So, what are civic and bioregional wrinkles? Civic and bioregional wrinkles are emergent irregularity arising from the interaction among multi-species inhabitants and their environment. They appear where inhabitant needs override commercial logic, shaping pockets of resistance within the urban fabric. They materialize where biological ecotones occurs, such as wetlands at the interface of water and land, or in between forests and clearings. Wrinkles, like an informal market or a community garden, are where carbon is sequestrated and democratic intensity peaks. These are not anomalies. They are surface expression of healthy, deeper socio-ecological dynamics. Unfortunately, often these wrinkles are seen as problem, pathological disorder, functional friction, inefficient land use. And in the name of functionality, informality is cleared, flow impediments are removed, and land value is captured. All this assuming the system can be rationalized, complexity reduced, space standardized, and static stability achieved. But socio-ecological systems are nonlinear, adaptive, and interconnected across scales. Flattening civic and bioregional wrinkles can give rise to pronounced, disruptive spikes in which tension emerge, threatening system to collapse. Therefore, we need to move from urban to civic, from regional to bioregional, from planning to wrinkling. From urban to civic. This shift moves away from the city as a machine for living and towards the city as a site of active citizenship. Informal settlements and practices are recognized as dense clusters of social innovation, and incremental surgical insertion of key infrastructure are woven into the existing social fabric without destroying local communities. Functional spaces such as transit hubs are envisaged as places for serendipitous encounters, with social uses prioritized over the mathematical efficiency of the urban system. From regional to bioregional. To make this shift possible, it is essential to foreground ecological habitats, such as watersheds, over administrative boundaries. Urban metabolism is integrated into planning, aiming at circularity, food sovereignty, and climate cooling. Urban fringes are conceived as porous membranes for symbiotic interspecies mutuality. From planning to wrinkling. This replaced the master plan on a tabula rasa with a system of wrinkles. Planning gives way to texturing, to the creation of deliberate complexity. Such a system builds on the recognition of daily routine, spatial practices, and signified places as the core element to preserve and value. It combines them with site condensing biodiversity, ecological value, and indigenous history. In short, it focuses on protecting and valuing the messy interaction of different forms of life. My research developed along these three lines by combining social science, environmental science, the arts, and the humanities through a conceptual prism that reflects on civicism, bioregionalism, and wrinkling. A crucial direction in my research concerns the right to the city and the practice of everyday life. It focuses on the process of reclaiming public spaces by disadvantaged social groups, by observing, mapping, and analyzing how policies and spatial features can catalyze such a process. This research advocates for a just city. Key findings reveal the importance of pedestrianization initiatives and street experiments. They also uncover the impact of the recent pandemic on the use of public space. Such research is further developing on a larger scale. It investigates how policies have shaped the historical evolution of the physical connection between the mass transit and the public realm. It analyzes how this evolution impacts the possibility for social interactions in the public space of our cities and territories. The result unveiled the impact of policies on the production of distinct pedestrian environment around stations. They also highlight how integrating mass transit and real estate development, a widely considered sustainable financial model, might have undesirable consequences for social and mental health. That's why we must prioritize balancing value capture with public space provision, creating non-circuitous, climate-sensitive, and inclusive environment around stations. Moving into environmental science, another stream of my research employs remote sensing and combine it with field work to assess the impact of river morphological transformation on agricultural practices and place attachment of local communities. Key findings highlight how river channelization catalyzes rural degradation by reducing agricultural land, destroying ecological habitats, and creating concrete-lined waterways. Conversely, ecological informed measure in river enhancement can reverse this degradation. Blue and green infrastructure is vital for any bioregion. Preserving and integrating it into territorial development, it's a must. A crucial lesson on how to do that was offered by Alvarato's office. The proposal for a forest city within the territorial reorganization of Imatra remain an outstanding example from which we can learn. Digitalizing Alvarato's drawing enables spatial analysis of the integration of dwellings and the forest. The findings reveals that dwelling plots are highly accessible to forest areas. Moreover, the forest and natural infrastructure is an integral part of the concept of a green network as defined by Alvarado. In his word, beginning of quote, the terms cover a combination of parkland, meadows, fields, and characteristic woodlands, separating one housing area from another. The main objective is not to drive economic benefits from these areas, but to preserve and intensify their character as local beauty spot and their general recreational value to the whole community. The third pillar end of quote. The third pillar concerned with the arts is research by design, conducted with students within design laboratories. This is, to me, the most fascinating part of my work, one that tests and resonates research finding into new proposal of territorial reorganization. Focusing on watershed, such proposal builds on civicism and bioregionalism to value wrinkle through design. In other words, this research by design is about learning how to create the conditions for wrinkling. There I am with students searching for wrinkles. To conclude, what does civic and bioregional wrinkling mean in practice? It means learning to see differently. Informality as the natural knitting of the social fabric. Transit site as civic agoras. Peri-urban agriculture as metabolic interstices. Peri-urban fringes as bioregional seams. It means treating wrinkles as archive of civic participation, of ecological structure, of indigenous history, and deeper socio-ecological dynamics. Because wrinkles reveal something that flat surface cannot. They show where systems overlap and where they adapt. Well, then the task in front of us is not to build flatter territories, but to become more attentive to their social and ecological textures, to understand that in every civic and bioregional wrinkle, there is not a defect. There is our history, there is life, there is beauty. Thank you.